And welcome to this week's tutorial. This week we are designing two versions of a pennant style milestone. Now I'm just going to show you how to make the first one and then you'll repeat the process for all of the other ones. So the 1 month, 2 month, 3 months, and so on and so forth. So we're going to start with a triangle shape. So you might have some other shape right over here. You may have a rectangle or an ellipse or a polygon or whatever. So just click and hold until your menu pops out over here. And we're going to use this polygon tool. We're going to do a three-sided polygon, also known as a triangle. And don't worry about the radius because we're going to kind of mess with some stuff. So it gives you a nice little equilateral triangle. So all three sides are the same length, and that's not quite what we want. So let's kind of mess with this a little bit. First, we're going to rotate it 270 degrees. And that just gets it to where the left side is completely vertical and then it comes out to the right like a pennant. Then we're going to use actually not the selection tool, but the direct selection tool. What that does is, let me just show you the difference. So the selection tool, let's click off. If you click on this triangle and move, it'll move the whole thing. If you click the direct selection tool and you click like this anchor, okay, then if you click the anchor again and pull it, all right, it just moves that 1 point, which is nice, okay? So you can make your pennant super long or you can make it kind of short and stubby. It's up to you. I'm going to do kind of a happy medium here-ish. And you want to keep an eye on those smart guides. So let me just zoom in so we can see this a little bit better. So I'm going to click my anchor and then I'm going to drag it. And if you're dragging it perfectly horizontally, you'll see this magenta line. I can't show you with my arrow while I'm using the arrow. And if I unclick, the smart guide goes away. But you see that magenta line? It tells you that you're at the true horizontal. If you come off a little, that smart guide goes away. So you want to keep it perfectly flat. Okay, and again, just pull it out as long as looks right to you. Okay, so I like this shape. I think that that is pretty good. I'm going to use the selection tool now, so I'm selecting the whole shape. And if you still have a fill in there, let's go ahead and get rid of that. So you'll see right now that my fill color is white. This one refers to your stroke color. So this is your fill color, and I'm going to just take that out. So now it's empty. It looks the same, but it's not. All right, so I told you we were going to do two different versions. So I want to walk you through the adding the text first, and then I'll show you the little kind of embellishments that we're going to add. So let's figure out how to make text. Now, you can certainly just write something straight across, and that would work really well if you're doing like a name, maybe just a first name, and even you could stick a little middle name under there, and that would look okay. With the milestones, since you've got 1 month, I'm going to have it follow this bottom line here, okay? And the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to click where it says polygon tool, hold it down until my line segment tool pops out, and I'm going to do that, okay? If y'all notice more of an accent this week than usual, it's because I was down south last week, so that takes me a little time to fade once I've been back home. Okay, so once you've got your line segment tool, you want to hover until this little square down here pops up. You want to be in the very corner of this triangle, and then you're just going to click and drag it to this corner. All right, so basically you're just drawing that line all over again. And we're actually going to scoot it down just so that when we use our type on a path tool in a second, it doesn't get confused and use the whole triangle, okay? Because we'll scooch it back up in a minute. We just want the angle to be right now. So it doesn't matter what color this line is because it's going to go away, so don't stress about this. Right now, you want to come to the type tool and click and hold and use this type on a path tool. All right, you're going to come click on your line and look, you have a text box that follows that stroke, that line. Okay, now I'm not using that particular font, so I'm going to use the Wild Things Script Bold. If you have watched the last couple of tutorials, you have seen this font before, and I hope you're not tired of it yet because I'm not. So I'm just going to start with 1. And you can highlight that and just come up and make it like a size 50 font, right? We want it to be a bit bigger. We can mess with sizing a little bit more later. And now you come on over to your regular selection tool, not direct, your selection tool. And just kind of move it over. You just don't want to have to be worrying about the triangle. We'll put it back where it belongs in a minute. at this point, if you're fairly happy with everything, you can just right click, create outlines. Now let's zoom in. Since we have a script font, you have overlapping bits. You must take care of these or you will ruin your life when you go to print this, not to be dramatic. So come on over to your Pathfinder panel. If you don't have it, click Window and Pathfinder and it'll all come up. And use this click to unite. You see how those lines disappear? And if you swap your fill and stroke, you can see that you're not going to have a bunch of random pieces cutting out. Perfect. Okay, so now we're going to just repeat that process. The reason that I did not do the same line for both words is because I am using a different font and I just would rather take it step by step. So back to, oh, we can click off of that. Back to your line segment tool and just repeat that. So corner to corner. Okay, use your arrow key to just scooch it down a bit so you're not worrying about the triangle. And I actually kind of want to just get some stuff out of my way. All right. So type on a path tool, click that again. And this time I'm going to use the other part of the Wild Things font. I love, love, love that it lets you, I don't know, it has this font pairing so I don't have to stress about whether it looks good together. I spend a lot of time worrying about that if I'm not using prepared fonts. So here we go, 1 month. And then again, use your selection tool, click it, right click it, create outlines. And if you're not using a script for this one, you don't technically have to do the Pathfinder click to unite. I just sort of would recommend that you get into the habit of doing it because it doesn't cause any harm to this one, but it will cause harm if you don't do it on a script. So I just recommend, especially for new Glowforgers, just get in the habit of doing the unite on every word. All right, let's swap that back to fill just so we can kind of visualize everything. Now you have some options here, and I'm going to make a design choice that I would not have thought I was going to make. I would have thought I would prefer things centered together and then moved up here, but I actually don't like that as much as I thought I would. All right, let me go ahead and just make this a little bigger so we can kind of get a better sense of things. And I don't think that looks bad. Let me be clear. But somehow, for some reason, I like it better when they're over on the edge, okay? So when they're horizontal aligned to the left. So I'm going to click both of those. And the way that you do that, if you don't know how to select two things, you can click it, hold down Shift, and click the other thing. And now both 1 and month are selected. I'm zooming in just to show you better. And then you can use your Align panel to horizontal align left. For whatever reason, I messed around with it for a long time, looking at it when I was kind of making my sample piece, and this is just what looked better to me. So again, up to you. This is your piece. You make it look how you want it to look. And then I recommend, it's a little tricky with these asymmetrical triangles here. I know it's got symmetry this way, but it doesn't have symmetry this way. It's a little tricky to kind of line everything up or eyeball it if you're not comfortable with that, like I'm not, without your Align panel, but we can do it. So just move it around until it looks nice, resize it till it looks nice. This is kind of more of an art than a science right here. And when you're happy with it, that's great. What we're going to do now, because I'm not going to have you eyeball where this text goes once you cut everything out, we're going to create scored placement lines. So select your 1 and your month and copy. There are keyboard shortcuts you can use, but this time I'll just copy, edit, paste, and we're going to move it over here. And we're going to swap the fill and stroke because we want those to be cut out. Okay? Now here, we're going to just go ahead and take both of these and object, path, offset path. Whoa, we're not doing a giant, huge positive offset path. Instead, we're going to do a negative point. I usually start with 0.04, but this is a tiny design. I forgot to resize it. We'll resize it at the end. So for now, maybe just do like a negative 0.01 if yours is tiny like mine. The idea here is that you want to be able to see your new line within the letters. But once you cut your letters out, you don't want to be able to, like once you cut the letters and glue them down, you don't want to be able to see your placement lines. So let's try a negative 0.02. I think that's perfect. So it's absolutely a good guide and also very clear that it won't be visible once we glue down letters. Okay, so whatever you decide is fine there. And then swap your fill and stroke. So don't deselect anything. You want to keep it selected just as it is right now, because right now only that new line that you just made is there. So swap your fill and stroke, turn that to whatever color you use to indicate a score versus a cut. okay? And then you want to go to Edit, Copy, and then just delete it. And then click this, delete it. Click this, delete it. And I know that feels strange to do. It feels like everything is gone, but you're going to edit, paste in place. And now you have your scored lines. I know that these look really, they don't look like scored lines because this design is so tiny. So let's go ahead, because we're never going to make I hope, a 1 inch, 2 inch wide milestone. So let's take a minute. If you made a tiny one like I did, let's take a minute and resize it. So I'm moving this over because I want it all within the width of this triangle, because what I'm going to do is select everything. So I clicked and dragged, and you see how the point of the triangle is the rightmost side of everything, and the left side of the triangle is the leftmost side of everything. So right now our triangle is 2.1581 inches wide. I'm going to go about 6 inches wide. And we resized everything at once because we want to really make sure that these letters resize and still fit. Okay, and I can show you just to prove it to you that these are going to fit nicely over our little scored lines that we created in the end. Cool, right? All right, so let's move that back off. So at this point, you have the starting point for both of our variations. And I'm going to show you two things that you can do. You can pick this, or you can just leave them as plain triangles. I think that would also look okay. So let's come on up to our line segment tool, click and hold until your other options come up, and select your rectangle tool. I do not care how tall your rectangle is just yet, but let's go ahead and do like a 0.25 inch width. All right, so you create your triangle, your rectangle, and this is clearly way too tall. We do want it to extend up a bit, but not that much. That's a lot. We want just like a little extra tab over here. Okay, it doesn't have to be centered just yet. We'll take care of it. And then just scooch it over. You want it to be overlapped just slightly, okay, so that when we weld this in a second or unite this in a second, it'll actually unite. So it's okay if there's a tiny little bit of overlap. And let's go ahead, because I do want to go ahead, I want to use the align tools to center this. So let's just click and drag till our scored lines and our triangle are selected, but not the rectangle. We are going to go to Object and Group. And the reason we're doing that is because we don't want the triangle to move without the scored placement lines right now. Okay, so when you group it, it means that everything will move at once. See, I select just the triangle, but the words move too. And that's what you want. Okay, so now you're going to select all of it. Not these words over here, that doesn't matter, but all of it right in front of me. And just come on over to your Align panel, and you're going to use the Vertical Align Center tool. Okay, now come back to your triangle and Object, Ungroup, because now we do not want the scored words to be included, okay? So it's important to be familiar with group and ungroup, because you're going to use them to, well, group and ungroup pretty regularly. It's a pretty simple thing. You just need to know when to use it, when not to. All right, so let's see. We're going to investigate. We're going to see if this is overlapped enough to unite nicely, and if not, we'll scooch it and start again. So let's just select just your rectangle and your triangle and use your Pathfinder panel to unite. And it did. It worked nicely. Now, if yours did not, go to Edit, Undo, and they'll be separate. Okay? And in fact, let's do that anyway. So regardless of whether yours welded nicely or not, because what we want to also do is copy this rectangle. So Edit, copy the rectangle. Okay? And now come back, Unite, and then let's go Edit, Paste in Place. Okay? So one of our variations is going to have this, this part will all cut on one layer, and then these parts will cut on a second layer. I plan to back mine with 3M adhesive, okay? My words, I should say, my words and my little extra rectangle here. And then when it's all cut out, we can glue down our words, and we can glue this extra layer right here just to give it a little bit of added dimension. Okay, so that is version 1, and I'm scooting mine over just because I like to have things grouped according to, not in terms of object group, but just kind of visually grouped in terms of how I will cut them on the Glowforge. when I'm just doing personal designs like this, I tend to just put it all on the same sheet or all in the same document. And then when I upload it to the Glowforge, I just delete whatever I'm not cutting right away. When I'm packaging files for sale, everything's on its own nice little layer, but that's not the case right now. Okay, so I said that we're going to do 2 versions, and we are. So the good news is that we're not starting totally from scratch for the second version. Instead, we're going to copy paste this. Just bring it down here. And we're going to copy paste these little words. Okay, so the bulk of the design is already ready. And then in this case, I am going to have us score a line here instead of gluing down a rectangle. We're going to kind of visually add the rectangle with a scored line. So let's do that part. Okay, line segment. I'm going to make it my score color, which is I use this green shade. And then you just click and hold and just attach anchor to anchor. Okay, and that part's good. But I'm also going to add 2 little holes here because I want to see what it would look like with some leather cord threaded through there and tied into a bow or a knot. I haven't quite decided yet. Okay, so my leather cord that I ordered is 3 millimeters. So I'm going to come here, click and hold, use the ellipse tool. And when you convert 3 millimeters to inches, it's like 0.118. So I'm going to give myself a tiny bit of extra room and do 0.12 by 0.12. And actually, we want to change that stroke color to black, which is what I use for cut lines because I don't want to score this. I want to actually cut it out. And then I'm just going to copy paste. So you can use that edit, copy, edit, paste. I just did a keyboard shortcut for it. And we're going to do some grouping and aligning and all that stuff. So you can either just eyeball this part if it's for personal use. I'm not an eyeballer when I don't have to be. So I'm going to show you how I would go about making sure everything is perfectly symmetrical. You do not have to do this part if you're comfortable eyeballing it. All right, but if it's going to bother you for it to be uneven, just follow along. So select select one circle, hold down Shift, select the other circle. Now you can see that mine are perfectly aligned. Somehow it happens. We get lucky occasionally. If yours are not, go ahead and use this horizontal align center tool. If you're not getting this panel, by the way, object align, and then you have all those same options. Okay. Now object group. So you want to group these 2. Okay. And now we really want to, let's see here. We're going to select everything except those holes. Because basically the idea right now is that we want to make sure that this is vertically centered within this rectangle. All right, but the way to do that is that you've got to select everything else. So rectangle, score line, triangle. Now hold down Shift to add oh gosh, and we have to even go in and individually select all the letters, and that's okay. And we're going to go object group. So again, everything except those 2 holes is grouped now. Okay, now select it all, including the holes, and do vertical align center. And mine was just a smidgy bit off, so I actually, for whatever reason, did a good job eyeballing it this time. But, you know, it's always better to be safe than sorry. Okay, and now you can ungroup everything if you'd like. You can just object ungroup until it stops. And now everything is ungrouped. You can just make your own choices with that. I usually like to have my text all grouped at least, but it's not really a requirement. Okay, so at this point, I'm probably going to cut all of these from the same, again, 3M backed material. I haven't decided on colors yet and stuff, so bear with me. And then this also, okay, from the same color. I think this could look nice in a coordinating color, but I'm just going to do it all in the same color. And then you've got these 2 designs. So this one does not have a rectangle glued down. It just has the leather cords instead and a scored line. This one's got the glued on rectangle that adds that dimension. All right. And again, you know, we just made both of these, but you would want to repeat that. And, well, you don't have to make it all from scratch. Just copy and paste whichever version you like better. Copy and paste it, 12 times, maybe extras for a welcome to the world or a name sign too. Those are nice to include. And then just make your words 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, all the way up to 1 year or happy birthday or whatever the text you want to do. You can follow the same steps to create the entire set. Now, if you make these, I would love to see them. I know that I say that all the time, and it's always true. But for these, usually the cutie little photos are being taken with tiny little sweet babies, and I especially love to see my Milestone designs with their tiny cute babies. So tag me on Instagram at the Fable Tree, email me Jacqueline@thefabletree.com. Share with me however you want to share it with me, as long as I get to see it. All right. I can imagine this being super cute in so many different designs. I could see a pastel pink matte acrylic with like an off-white acrylic. I could see Sapele with the peach acrylic from, the peach pastel acrylic from Cerulean Tides. Oh my goodness. So I'm going to try to hold myself back from making 78 different sets. So, do me a favor and make them for me. Now, if you are interested in learning even more about file design, I know that you've heard this before if you're not new here, but if you are new here, I have a 5-week file design class. It's an online course, so you start whenever you're ready and you work through it. And we do basically simple projects and then a little less simple and then more advanced and more advanced. And we build on the skills that you learned in previous lessons. By the end of the course, you have about 20 files of your very own that you designed right alongside me, but you designed your own version of it. So you could actually start selling those files. You could start selling projects made from the files. And I really take my time and kind of make sure that you're comfortable, with the very basics. And then I add things on so that by the end of the course, you can design whatever you want to make. If you have any questions about FileMakers Academy, leave me a comment or send me an email or a message on Instagram or whatever, and I will be happy to get you taken care of. All right, that's it for this week. See you next time.